Broadcasting live from downtown Davenport. This is the Bix 7 Road Race on KWQC TV6. Broadcast sponsored by John Deere.
It is a soggy Saturday morning here. As you can see, the final preparations underway. It's one of my favorite shots to have the train coming overhead. As you can see, the massive humanity getting set up there right behind the bridge. But Tony, we're in the final minutes here before the race. Let's get down to it. We have some really top shelf runners on both men's and women's side. Who are the proverbial favorites and maybe a dark horse here on each side?
Well, we do have the two defending champions back. Wesley Kiptoo from Kenya, out of Northern Arizona Elite from Flagstaff. He's back and he's in form, and he dominated the race last year. Rachel Chebet from Uganda became the first female from Uganda to win the Bix 7 road race. So they're both returning, and so you have to keep an eye on them. One of the men I'm looking for is number 25, Yemeni Haile Selassie from Eritrea, who was fourth at the Utica Boilermaker 15K just last weekend, just behind Wesley Kiptoo. But what I know him more for is winner of last December's Honolulu Marathon. Hot, humid, hilly. Guess
Sounds
what
like
we
got that here
Hot,
today.
humid, hilly. So look out for Yemeni Haile Selassie. These are conditions that he likes. And Nathan Martin, Jackson, Michigan, third in this race last year. Nathan's wearing number 17. He's a former NAIA champion, and he's also a coach of high school kids back home in Jackson, and so I want to salute him for that. Not putting all his attention on just being the professional athlete, but giving as well. So those are three guys I'm looking for. Rachel Chebet is going to be championed by Vivian Chepkarui, also from Kenya, and Everlyn Kemboy. They all ran at the Peachtree Road Race, the big 10K down at Atlanta July 4th, and they finished all in the top 10 right behind one another. So whereas Wesley Kiptoo looks to be the odds-on favorite on the men's side, Rachel Chebet will have, I think, a more difficult time defending her title on the women's side.
Right. And again, with the race conditions that are here, we'll have to see how things kind of perform here. And we're also keeping an eye here on the starting line as the national anthem here is just a couple of minutes away, Tony. But a very exciting morning. There's a first for everything, right? We're starting an hour later this year. Typically, you'd think it'd be a little warmer, more humid, but the rain is starting to lighten up here as we speak.
It's actually just a gentle patter as we look behind us at the puddles that are already forming here at the station. But this is a rain which I think the runners are going to enjoy more than the sun and the direct beating of the sun and the heat that we normally have here. The temperature around 73, 74 degrees, that's standard issue. The dew point around in the low 70s, that's pretty standard for the Quad Cities each summer and each Bix 7 road race. So the rain in its own way, whereas it forced us to postpone, it wasn't the rain, it was the possibility of lightning. So I think the conditions are actually pretty good given everything.
Yeah, and the last time we really did have significant rain impacting the race was all the way back in 2010. So this is not something, obviously, that happens very often. But obviously, we're here this morning, and things are starting to shape up.
What do parents tell their kids? Don't talk to strangers and don't play in the streets. What do we do out in the Bix 7? We go play in the streets and talk to strangers.
And dance in the rain. We'll run in the rain. How about that? All right, well, we're just minutes away here from the start of our 51st running of Bix 7. And again, this is just one of the most special weekends here in the Quad Cities. It's a reunion of sorts, and we'll have a little bit of reunion here in just a minute with maybe a special guest here joining the desk.
No, absolutely. I know that at first, our four-time Women's Open champion, Joan Benoit Samuelson, was not going to run because she had a flight, but she's postponed her flight, and she will be running in today's race.
All right, Dylan Moeller getting ready for the start of the Beat the Elite. Remember, she got a 2-mile head start. It sounds like the final instructions are about to wrap up here downtown Davenport here. 2025 edition of the running of the Bix 7.
Yeah, Dylan looks like an athlete and is ready to roll. You can just tell by body language.
Her dad was a cross-country runner in college, so she's got the pedigree there. All right, you can see final preparations here. Everybody got their watches all set to go. You can see there in bib 1, that is Wesley Kiptoo, our defending champ there on the men's side.
And he's rubbing his hands together. And last year, he absolutely tore out of this starting line and just ripped it up the Brady Street Hill and opened a gap right away. Let's see what he does this year.
All right, Michelle Juring giving the final instructions here
It's a nerve-wracking time these last few minutes. These athletes have been lined up for a long period of time, and they're just anxious to release that energy.
And we can expend it here coming up the steep hill that we know is the Brady Street Hill here in the Quad Cities.
It's between a 7 and 9% grade. Yesterday in the Tour de France, they were going up La Plana, which was a 7.2 degree hill. That'll give you an idea of the steepness of this grade.
So what you're telling me is I don't want to bike up this hill.
If you want to bike it, probably not run it.
All right, and we're off here for the 51st running of the Quad-City Times Bix 7. You can see Dylan Muller getting a little bit of a slip there. She was on the downhill portion, and that's what we were referencing here earlier, that could be a little bit of an issue on some of these streets.
We saw that at our Brady Street sprints on Thursday night. Of course, they were powering up the hill, and so there was a lot of slippage on that first step. I saw some of that in our front row of our elite competition as well, as the train motors overhead and thunders.
Oh, that's a cool shot.
That's a great shot.
Look at the amount of people that we have here running on this year's edition
of
the Quad-City Times Bix 7. They're about to make their way past the station. As you can see, the color guard making its way up, the Bix sponsors, and of course our lead truck that will be providing all your live video coverage that you are seeing here right now.
Now, the crowds are a little bit thinner this year, as you'd expect with the weather. But once again,
Wesley Kiptoo leading the pack here.
He's in
coming
that
up the hill,
light,
not a big surprise.
light red, I would call it, bib, running for the Hoka Northern Arizona Elite. He's an Iowa State grad, 2022, and then he became a professional and has had a very successful opening 2 years in his pro running career.
And looks like they're kind of just getting their way up as you got Kibawat there, another Kenyan running in bib 3. As we'll start to see the massive humanity here making its way past at TV6, the lead pack making its way up as we speak, right behind us, and everybody's looking nice and fine and in good form here early on in the race.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like Wesley Kiptoo is attacking quite like he did last year. I said if you take a look back at I keep all the split times, the mile splits over the years, and here look at 2017, the first mile 5:11, 2018 first mile 5:18, 2019 first mile 5:15, in 2024 first mile 4:46. I mean, that was just, and he ended it right there. He had at least a 10 or 15 second lead at the 1 mile, 26 second advantage at 2 miles. I asked him at the Elite Athlete luncheon on yesterday whether or not he was going to go out as hard as he did last year. And he says maybe something similar, but I don't know.
Because he was running on course record pace there last year.
Right.
Nobody pushed him, but something new this year. There's a $1,000 bonus if you set the course record.
Well, if without competition, you have a tendency to back off a little bit and savor the victory. The course record is very, very strong, 31:51.99. I would have said
0.99 because it's another one of
31:52. Usually in running, we round up. In road running, we round up. But we can't here at the Bix 7 because John Career only beat Mark Yadish by 1/100th of a second in that 1998 race to set that course record. And there have only been 3 men to ever go under 32 minutes on this course. And I told Wesley Kiptoo that yesterday at the luncheon, and it sort of opened his eyes just a little bit. But he's running a little bit more conservatively. Not conservative, but just a little bit more controlled than he did last year.
And you can see all the runners and walkers making their way up Brady Street Hill, but there's Wesley Kiptoo at the top of the lead pack as they're about to make their turn onto Kirkwood Boulevard. And we'll see if they make up some time there going down the hill. As we were talking earlier, we've seen the pace go from about 5 minutes for the first mile down to almost 4 minutes there for the second.
Well, last year, 4:46 opening mile, 4:06 second mile.
So it shows you that the incline helping you a little bit there down the hill on
Which
Kirkwood.
means that 5th mile coming home is going to be another
a little bit
brute.
taxing.
It's another brute. So you go downhill for the most of that first 5 miles. For the first 3 miles off the McClellan turnaround, and then it's uphill for the whole second half until you get back to the top of Brady and Kirkwood, and then you plunge down Brady Street. So it's just a phenomenal race course, and you really have to use your head when you're racing here. Here's the turn onto Kirkwood.
And it reminds me, a few years back, Frank Laura, it was the first time he ran Bix. He led from the get-go and then ran out of gas here as he came down the stretch.
2021
and that was that
probably
year. Not having the knowledge of the course to maybe not go out as hard, knowing that's going to be all uphill in that 5th mile.
And Leonard Career beat him in that particular race, and Frank got second place. Now Frank's back here again. He's usually been a notorious front runner, and that's him on the right side of the screen in this light red. And look at the puddles that the athletes are generating. The television screen doesn't give you as good an idea of elevation rise or fall, but believe me, the second mile is a major downhill, and they can really find their rhythm. The tendency is once you find a rhythm, it's just easier to either stick with that pace or to increase it. The minute you try to reduce your pace, you lose your coordination somewhat. It's almost counterintuitive, but you have to be very careful not to get too ramped up going down that second mile downhill.
And you can see our Beat the Elite Dylan Muller making her way up. I believe that would be Middle Road before she hops into McClellan Heights. Looks like we're getting our first splits in, Tony. As you can see, thousands of runners and walkers making their way up as we're now 5 minutes and 13 seconds in as we're taking a live aerial view here above Brady Street Hill.
So much for my eyeballing it because they ran a 4:45 first mile.
Ooh, so they're all flying.
So they are all.
Maybe taking a page out of Wesley Kiptu's book from last year.
Well, what they realize is they let him go last year, and that did not work out well for them. So if you have it, you have to be there. This is a sport of contact. You have to be in contact. The marathon is a little bit different. With that 26.2 miles, you can let the gap open a little, and as long as you still have it on like this rubber band, you can snap back. But in a 7-mile road race, contact is the name of the game. And right now, all the other athletes have realized that Wesley Kiptu is in fine shape, and if we let him go, we'll never see him again. So we've got Boniface Kibiwat, number 3 from Kenya. He's in that gray outfit right in front. He's a 27:13 10K guy. He was 5th last weekend at the Utica Boilermaker 15K. But once again, Wesley was 43:13, so he beat him by 14 seconds. Alex Mayer is number 7 out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He's on the right of the screen in the slightly red outfit.
Got a trio of wins this year.
The whole lead pack is still right together.
Yeah, we'll keep tabs on this here as we're now 6.5 minutes into the 51st running of the Quad-City Times Bix 7. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back here with all the latest as the runners make their way down Kirkwood Boulevard.